Welcome back to the NExT Appraisal Tool modules. In this module, we will be discussing question number 4. Is there a framework used for the study and/or do the authors describe relationships between key terms, also known as concepts? Authors will typically provide this type of information in the introduction section of an article. Let's say that you are reading a study about nurse empowerment. Empowerment is the phenomena or an area of interest within the study. It could be that the phenomena or topic may exist alone. However, if it is a topic that has multiple elements, we would want to know what those elements or key terms are and how they are defined. So in this example, an author may define the phenomena of nursing empowerment as occurring from a sense of autonomy and meaningfulness. These terms, autonomy, meaningfulness, and empowerment, are all known as concepts because their definition is dependent on interpretation. As a reader, we would want the author to give us the definition of those terms, so we have a way to evaluate if the definition is the same as in other studies with similar key terms. The way those key terms fit together is known as a framework. A framework is not always presented in an article, but if it is, the author is usually very clear about noting it and will likely describe it as either a model or a framework. Concepts are those key terms that are explored in any study. Even if they are not identified as being part of a framework, these are those terms that you will typically be reading about in other articles on the same topic, like for instance, anxiety, depression, or pain. It is important to know how each author is defining these specific terms. Here is an example from a published article. In this brief example, this author identifies a stress buffering model that involves the key terms of social support, stress, and stress appraisal. We would continue to read in this article and see that the author provides definitions for those terms so we clearly understand how they are being defined. Again, not every article will have a framework. In fact, it tends to be fairly rare. Concepts, however, are typical and should be defined versus left for you to infer their meaning. In forming your appraisal response, decide if you feel the authors identified and defined those key terms. Did they discuss how these key terms fit together by identifying a model or a framework, as listed in this example? Nonetheless, if these elements are not there, simply form your appraisal as a no response and explain the lack of those elements from within the article. Congratulations, you have successfully completed this module. You may return to the main menu or continue to other appraisal modules in the NExT EBP course.